Has anybody like taken into account, we're airing season 4, which happens like after, it's like a new world, and it's happening after we've gone through this pandemic.
It's so bizarre that they're in quarantine, in purgatory.
Emily is like an oracle. He knows.
Nicole! Whatever happens, stay in that frog!
I wasn't part of the frogs. How was that?
I have some really funny behind-the-scenes video of Varun trying to catch the frogs. Wait till you see it, Mel. It's awesome.
Waverly, do not step on your girlfriend.
We had to shut down the set for 30 minutes to look for
this frog. They found it. It was already back in its box.
It had never left.
No animals were harmed, and we made sure of it. Yeah. The whole production stopped. And all the crew, like you can see all the crew with their flashlights in shorties looking for this tiny frog.
Then it turned out we just miscounted and the frog
We miscounted. It was already, it was in its, yeah.
Okay, cut.
Nedley in the hat, just chanting. Greg also lost his mind doing it as Kat was losing his mind, Greg was losing his mind. All he was doing was just chanting, whispering to himself, drinking fake beers, and just like, I think getting drunk off it. It was so kooky.
Can I at least get an... Oh, thank you.
I don't know how much I saw of your work with the frog.
I was a little bit disappointed I didn't actually get to kiss a real life frog. I got to kiss
oh yeah, that plastic frog.
A plastic frog, and definitely cannot compare to my lovely love. It was just like Wynonna at its like best, really. It was like, of course we're kissing frogs, of course you're in a frog, like there's just total madness going on, and yet the stakes are so high. So it's like, again, playing that stakes are really high, but we're also talking about frogs, how to get that balance right.
That was one of those episodes where you have to trust the director so much. I remember Ron being like, and then you're going to be really tiny on the bar, and then we're going to move you over here. And I just remember being like, I trust you.
Yeah, definitely.
So gross. Talk about an amazing young actor whose name actually is Billy in real life. He brought it, man, and to really be like doing a very big performance and very explosive. He's like playing multiple versions of like Possessed, and then the true Billy, and then Nicole's inside of him. So it was like a lot for him to just navigate as an actor. And I thought he did such an amazing job.
God, was that as perfect as I thought it was?
76 down, 1 to go. You're gonna kill me last, like you said. Done.
There will be no killing.
I think for Doc, he needs forgiveness so much for himself that he's so easy to give it to other people now, because he hopes it's going to be reciprocated in some way because of some of the things that he did in season 3. I just feel like he's at a place where he's ready to forgive, because he'd love to be forgiven.
I don't think Wynonna sees it that way. I'd be pissed if I were Wynonna. I'd be like, she's bad news, and you guys got it on. Just be on my side for this.
Tie her up and hope she doesn't spontaneously combust.
I don't need to know what you two got up to in the sack.
These two, man, can they just get on the same page already?
All right, Sister Granny Panties, here she be.
A woman scorned.
I think the scorned woman thing is a very old-fashioned concept, and the idea of women being scorned for bad behavior is very dated and sexist. The truth I've always thought about Wynonna and Rosita is they're so much alike. They're both survivors. They both make the really difficult choice to keep going, even if it means hurting people, just to be able to fight another day. And I think that's why they actually connect despite themselves, which I really like in this episode, is realizing they have so much in common. They're both so strong and so savvy that really they should be friends, but the world seems to want to pit them against one another because they're both strong. So them kind of realizing there's room for both of them in the world is really satisfying.
That's such a good answer. It blew my balls off.
Oh, good. I hope it just cuts out and it just sounds like I'm saying something really horrible.
I have powers you cannot comprehend.
Oh, same, bitch. There's a darkness to Waverly that we haven't quite got to the bottom of yet. No, I think she's just like, no one's going to take the love of my life away from me any longer like that. I'm done with that. I think that when she goes there, she's like, it's down to me, like I am not going to let this happen, and she goes and that's what unfolds. I still think that Waverly really struggles with like hurting people and killing people, and afterwards I think it's like a big game of like trying to not think about what happened. Something had to be done, so I think it was down to Waverly to do that.
It's funny that Waverly is kind of out of options versus Wynonna has tried none of the options. There's so many deer in that scene. Do you remember that?
Yes!
The deer are like, excuse me, we're eating over. It was cool.
It was so cool.
There's a lot of deer Easter eggs, so it's very cool.
Let us get a drink.
When Wynonna takes the old choice, which in Doc's eyes is the choice of more violence, I think he's just done with it. He's ready to move on and just become more than what they were. So I don't think he's disappointed in her, but he's definitely disappointed in he's moved past that point, and he's disappointed that maybe she hasn't.
It's that thing where somebody makes a realization in life that's so groundbreaking to them, and that it shifts their whole view of life, which is what has happened to Doc. But Wynonna hasn't had that internal shift. They just can't meet at the same place. And so I don't think it's that Wynonna, I think she can see he thinks what she's doing is wrong, but she's not where he is. So the only way for her to take it is, you think I'm a bad person. Like, it's a moralistic thing, and I'm not good enough for you because you have this new view of life and I don't fit into that. So it's just like a really painful, this is, she makes it about her, as I think we all do.
And I think the most tragic part of all of that is that at the end of the day, the burden doesn't fall on anyone except Wynonna. So she doesn't have the luxury to change, because at the end of the day, it's always going to be Wynonna who's got to deal with the curse or save the day anyway. So it's tough, because as much as Doc much needed to let go of the past. So I love where we're going in 406.
I also think there's irony in the fact right now that, like, at the end of episode 6, Doc and Wynonna Earp are at odds, for better or for worse.
Nicole Hutt, will you marry me?
I love that we got to kind of redo the engagement in a more official way. That was always something that I was like, I feel like it wasn't definite enough, I guess, or it was sort of, it needed its moment, and I like that they didn't get that yet because it wasn't the right time for that moment before. But I really loved, like, that was,
it was so beautiful.
I'm so excited for people to see that.
I think from Waverly's side, I think it was really important for her to be the one who proposed in that moment. And I think there's like a few different reasons for that. Primarily because those circumstances were so heightened before, and the world was ending, and she just lost her father, and all of that madness that was going on in the moment that we had in last season. It doesn't take anything away from the fact that she like genuinely loves Nicole and wants to spend the rest of her life with her. And so I think it was important for Waverly to show that it wasn't just a moment of like flippancy, just off because of the madness, but really it was because like genuinely she wants to marry this woman. And so like to resolve that, not only for herself but also to show Nicole that she was serious about it. And I'm curious to hear what you think in regards to Nicole.
Even though all the crazy, and even though the heightened emotions, I meant it.
Yeah, exactly.
And to own that, and to take that moment again, and I think it was sort of a nice full circle moment of like, I think there's always been these lovely moments peppered in where, I would never want you to be someone you're not. And Nicole was always so careful to never pushed Waverly into anything that he wasn't ready to do.
Exactly.
And I love that dynamic is still there.
It just felt exactly as it should have been.
I love you. I love you too.
Come to mama.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm ready.
The one thing that is interesting for Wynonna is we were very lucky in that 6 really feels like a natural end. And then I feel we won't fight the fact that some time has passed, maybe between the end of 6 and the beginning of episode.
Cool.
I think that Wayhot's engaged, but I think it's even more pronounced if maybe there's been a distance between Wynonna and Doc when we kind of come back to the back half of season 4.
Cool.
And I would say, like, not all the Clantons have been accounted for. You know, I think we have a lot to look forward to, but I don't think it's going to get any less crazy.
Yo! We've all been through this rigmarole, okay?
Before.
Like, subscribe,
Subscribe.
comment,